Hello everybody, thanks for watching. Today we have a new knife, and this is the Smith & Wesson. This is their assisted OTF knife, and this is the newest generation, which is the 10th generation of this knife. And it is very reminiscent of a auto knife in that it has a switch here on the front, and the blade pops right out of the front. And Smith & Wesson and some other companies like Schrade have made these assisted opening versions of these knives for quite some time now. And this is the first one I have ever purchased in that this is the first one I think looks really good. If you look at the 9th generation, 8th generation, prior generations of this knife here, they tend to look a little boxy, a little blocky. They're not very well refined. So it's not surprising to me personally that this is the actual 10th generation of the Smith & Wesson OTF assisted knife. I wish it had a better name than that, but the model number, of course, for it, let me see what it shows up as. It's the MPOT F10G, which is kind of a mouthful, so I'm just calling it the OTF knife. And again, 10th generation, you'll know the difference because when you look in the model number, you'll see the number 10 in it. Whereas if you're looking at a knife online and it has the number 9 or 8 in it, that is how you know the difference. And of course, the actual shape of the handle is different as well. And like I just said, that's why I bought this one. So again, let me show you the action. There's a small lock right here. You can actuate and lock the blade shut. And there is a safety on it, so when the safety is engaged, the knife does not come out. When the safety is showing the red dot, the knife pops out, just like any automatic knife. And so I'm not sure of the legal differentiation between this knife here and, say, a Microtech or a Benchmade OTF knife. I do know that in California, for instance, you're not allowed to have auto knives, and they make sure to market these as an OTF assisted knife. So I suppose in theory, since it is an assisted action and not automatic in that the button retracts and opens the blade, then it's legal in the state of California. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea if that's true or not, but what I will say is that this looks, in your hand like any other auto knife. And if you carry this in a state that restricts auto knives, don't expect a police officer to know the difference between an assisted OTF versus an auto OTF. So that's just kind of a disclaimer out there. Regardless of how legal it is, you can't expect a police officer seeing you with this in the street knowing the difference in assisted versus auto. Chances are you're going to lose the knife, and hopefully that's all you're going to lose. But that being said, it is assisted, so therefore I assume it's legal, and especially this one here I purchased from Knife Center. And I know Knife Center has it in stock, Blade HQ has it in stock, several places do. And generally when you try and buy an auto knife through those vendors, you have to go through a little extra step of red tape where you have to certify who you are and all that stuff. And when I purchased this knife, there was no such documentation required. So therefore I just added it to the cart, purchased it, and it was on its way. So again, that doesn't mean it's legal, but the fact that it's specifically marketed as an assisted opening knife, in theory, again, theory, means that it's in the same legal standing as any assisted opening knife like a Kershaw or a CRKT with assisted opening technology. So keep that in mind. So it's kind of cool to get something that technically is legal if you live in a state that does have restrictions. And of course the price point is what makes this knife awesome as well. $40 for this knife. Again, if you're going to buy a real deal auto knife, a Benchmade as Microtech, you're spending upwards of $200 plus to get something in a similar form factor to this $40 knife. So what do we get for $40? This knife right here has aluminum handles, and in the photos, I admit, the handles always look really cheesy. They honestly look like plastic. When you look at the pictures, it looks like a black plastic. But in hand, it is very hefty. It is very solid aluminum handles. So it feels really good in hand. So it has that steel spacer in here. It feels really nice in the hand. The pocket clip right here doesn't look like it's repositionable, but it is tipped down, and it is a somewhat deep carry. So that is also very cool. It does have this glass breaker here on the end, which I'm not really a fan of, but again, it does add an extra feature to the knife. And since there is a safety, I wouldn't feel bad using the glass breaker if the safety was engaged and you had to hold it in such a manner like this. But again, I like this knife better than any of the previous generations because I've seen these for sale before, the earlier models. And again, maybe I can find some photos and overlay them right now, but they just don't look as good. Not only does the shape just look too boxy and strange, but when you look at the release lever, it's always sticking out at some weird angle and it just ruins the lines of the knife. Whereas this knife right here, you can see this release lever, it is just right in line with the handle. You know, if you're not looking for it, to a casual observer, it's almost not there. So what we have here is an assisted knife at a very low price point, and this blade, for $40, it is an AUS 8 steel blade. So let's get a close-up of that if I can get it to focus. So AUS 8 steel, and you can see all of the grease on the blade steel because this is pretty much straight out of the box. You can see a date, what it looks like on the bottom. So January 2018 manufacturer, which is cool. And the patent number. MMP logo on the other side. And what you don't see on this knife is a marker of where it's made. So this is foreign production. It's not made in the United States for $40. I don't think you can expect a knife like this to be made in the United States, but it was made in Taiwan. So again, for some people, that's a step above China. Not to say that China doesn't make some great stuff, but the knife was made in Taiwan by Smith & Wesson. So whichever parent company owns that name for use on knives now. The MMP brand I know is very popular in the firearms community, so I expect this is probably going to be a great seller for them, because not only is it going to be legal in states that restrict auto knives, reason why I bought it, but it's also a low-cost knife that mimics its more expensive big brothers that are technically auto knives. So again, the knife is now open. You'll see the switch here on the side. I don't think you would accidentally move it, although I guess if you were really gripping down like this, your thumb could work that lever and pop the blade down. But again, I think that it rides very well in the handle. So blade goes down. I don't think you're going to be able to close this one-handed. Just keep that in mind. At least I can't yet in the first couple dozen firings of it. I don't feel comfortable doing that. But when the safety is off and the blade is in check here, again, it's a really cool action, feels great, pops right out, has that great aesthetic look when it does that. And I know you're asking right now, blade play. Is there any blade play in this knife? Let's see. I'm going to be careful because both sides are sharp. It moves a little bit. It does move a little bit, but I think this is acceptable. Again, I have literally no experience with OTF knives, but it's not super wobbly. I wouldn't feel bad using this knife. A little bit of play, but again, I think for $40 that is more than acceptable, at least in my book. So not wobbly at all. It doesn't shake when you shake the knife. That's good. But being an aluminum handle, 3.5-inch steel blade, the weight according to the specs are going to be 6 ounces. Let's see if that's accurate. I always like calling out manufacturers and seeing if they're accurately representing their product. So 6 ounces advertised, 5.83 actual. So 5.83 ounces, so that's great, coming in less than advertised. So again, good job on them for delivering there. So 5.83 ounces for a 3.5-inch blade knife. It's about 8 2/3 inches overall length when it's opened. So it is a good medium, large size knife. And that the fact that the handle is nice and thick, I mean, you can get a really good grip on this blade, so that's cool. I do like that they included some instructions for this knife, because I know sometimes you get a generic set of instructions when you buy a knife that don't really apply to the model you even purchased, but this looks pretty much exactly like the one you bought, so that's cool. And for a knife that has a little bit more complexity than normal, I appreciate that, so that's really nice. But beyond that, the presentation of the box is nothing to be impressed over. It's literally just a cardboard box. Has the model number right here. Let me see if that's even the right one. Yeah, 108-4314. That's the barcode. But really, any Smith & Wesson knife could have gone in this box because there's no other markings on it. So nothing to write home about with the box, but the actual knife itself I think is really good. AUS 8 steel, 3.5-inch blade. Currently I think they have it in a coyote tan color as well as this black aluminum color, and I think they both have black coated blades. I'm sure they're going to come out with more variations because I think this is probably going to be a great seller. I mean, just the looks alone are really cool. And so you're opening up a market of people who want to buy auto knives, and now you have a really stylish looking knife that fits into that mold. But again, like I said, legally these might be okay, but don't expect your average street cop who sees this in your hand in a banned state to just let you go with it. Chances are you're going to lose the knife if you can convince the cop that it's not a felony in your pocket. So hopefully, you know, you're covering yourself and acting in a responsible manner, but I wouldn't expect to safely carry this if you were going in a situation where you think you're going to run into a law enforcement presence. So just play it safe. Don't be dumb with your knives. That is always the moral of the story. If you have any questions about this knife, feel free to ask me in the comments down below. Go ahead and chime in what you think about the OTF Assist versus auto knives and see if this has any differentiation. I will say I'm impressed straight out of the box with this knife. And if you have, again, any questions, let me know. But have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.